Hey guys, this is Jason, and for this video, I'm going to be taking a short break from the Halloween month reviews and just focus on some of the newer films that are being released in theaters. Now don't worry, I am still going to do some more Halloween month reviews. I'm just going to hold off on those for a little while and just focus on some of the newer films that are being released, like this film and another film which you will be seeing later. And that film I'm going to be talking about for this video is Tron Ares, directed by Joachim and stars Jared Leto, Gretta Lee, Evan Peters, and Gillian Anderson. A new AI program known as Ares, played by Leto, who is a skilled fighter that is made by the Dillinger company and is supposed to be a huge deal for them, but then he goes rogue and helps this human character played by Greta Lee and enters the real world and later learns what it's like there. Honestly, I'm not a Tron fan. I don't really care about it a whole lot. I think the first film from 1982 is kind of overrated. And I'm not saying it's bad, it does have some good moments, and even for a movie that came out in 1982, the visuals in that film are still pretty good. Sure, there are some times where you can tell that it is dated, and the story and the characters for me don't really work, but I do understand why a lot of people loved the film back then, and why it was a milestone for some filmmakers later on, but it never stood out to me as one of my favorites. Similar to Tron Legacy, a movie that I didn't love because it also had characters that weren't interesting and a story that wasn't interesting either, but it had some really good visuals even to this day, and I'm not gonna lie, the soundtrack by Daft Punk is actually pretty cool, but neither of those films ever made me interested in the Tron world or want to watch more of these Tron movies happen because I was never interested in the story or the characters, so that's one of the reasons why I wasn't excited for Ares. Another reason is that the trailers didn't really impress me. There wasn't anything in the trailers that really got my interest or made me want to see a new Tron movie. And my final reason is that this is from the director of Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man Tell No Tales, which wasn't bad. It was just one of the more bland and forgettable films in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. So I didn't have any high hopes for it and I wasn't interested in it, but now that I've seen this film, I will say that it is fine. It's okay. It's pretty much the same way I felt about the first two films. Like, the visuals are definitely the best part of this film. Everything in the Tron world looks stunning, like the vehicles, the weapons, the backgrounds. It all looks incredible. The soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails is pretty good. It's definitely got a cyberpunk feel, although I wouldn't say it's quite as good as Daft Punk's music from Legacy, but I still liked it. Some of the fight scenes and the chase scenes in both the Tron world and in the real world look really cool, and they do some pretty fun stuff with those like red beams that come out of their light cycles, which that's all I'll say there. But unfortunately, this has the same issues I had with the first two films, where this film is very stunning to look at and has a great score, but it also lacks in character development and story. Like when Ares is learning more about the real world and learning more about the main villain of the film, Jullian Dillinger, played by Evan Peters, making all the rules, and when Ares learns what he's doing is wrong, he decides to go on the run and try to stay in the real world, but the problem is, he doesn't have a lot of time to stay in the real world, because Evan Peters sets up a timer for Ares that goes for 29 minutes when he's in the real world, and when that timer goes off, he falls into pieces and goes back into the system. So that means we barely see him learn more about the real world and why he would later realize that being with Dillinger is not a great place to be in. And when Ares does learn about it eventually, it gets to a scene that's either rushed or is just skipped entirely. So if you want the audience to learn about the characters or have the main character learn more about the real world, don't give him like 29 minutes to just rush it and then have him go back to the system, because that's not enough time for him to learn more or develop more as a character. Now about Jared Leto, honestly, I wasn't thrilled when he was announced as the main character. I got nothing against him, I'm just not a fan of his. And I don't think he was the right fit for this role, and I get that he's supposed to be an AI that is learning more about what's going on, and I'm fine with him being like that in the first half of the film. But if you have him doing that in the second half of the film when he's slowly learning more about the real world, he would have some moments that would feel flat, and you don't get the feeling like he's learned anything about the real world at all. He just feels like he's rushing all of his time to do so, where it feels like he's barely learned anything about the real world, and when he does get to learn something, it's either rushed or they give some exposition that's supposed to make him learn, which is a very lazy way of trying to get our main character to learn about the real world, because you're just explaining all of it to him rather than showing it to him. Granted, his performance in this film isn't as bad as his performance in Morbius, but it still didn't feel like he was giving it his all here. Evan Peters plays the main villain of the film, where he's trying to make Ares a new big thing for his company, but is also doing some shady stuff by stealing some stuff from Encom. Why is he stealing stuff from them and doing all this terrible stuff? I don't know, because this movie doesn't even bother to answer. He's just a rich bad guy that just wants money and wants to do all this terrible stuff so that he can be the next big thing. There really weren't that many characters in this film that felt fleshed out or had any development. I mean, maybe Greta Lee's character, she only has some development, but it is barely mentioned and they don't get into much of it. And this is the same problem I have with the first two films. For whatever reason, whenever they make a new Tron movie, they focus more on the visuals and the music instead of the story and the characters as well, because we want all of those things. We want an engaging story and fun characters along with great visuals and great music. And unfortunately, the movie only succeeded with the visuals and the music, because this movie was lacking any character development and story, and it's really just one of those films that's just cool to look at. There's no emotional core, there's nothing new to the story or for the franchise. It's just a bland sci-fi action movie. If you love this franchise for only the visuals, the music, and for the action, then you're gonna have a fun time with this film. But if you want to have a story that's interesting and characters that are developed and get you engaged in the story, you're not gonna get much of that. Now, I didn't hate this movie. I don't think it's one of the worst films I've seen this year. It still had some great visuals and a great score and some good action sequences. And I would say it would be good to see in theaters if you just want to watch it for the visuals, but if you want to watch it only for the story, then I think it's good to just wait until it's good to rent. I'm gonna give Tron Ares a C. So guys, if you have seen Tron Ares, what do you think about it? Do you think it's one of the best movies from this franchise, or do you think that this is one of the worst in the franchise? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.